What's up, guys? Welcome to Gwhisky. My name is Jeff. Now, this is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. That sounds interesting? Hit subscribe down below, and with that out of the way, why don't we jump into our review? Today, we're looking at the Deanston 15-year-old Organic. Stick around. So we've got kind of a cool one today. We're looking at a Deanston. Deanston is a Highland distillery. We have their 15-year-old Organic expression with us. Now, I believe this is one of the lesser known Deanstons. There's actually not very much chatter online about this one. So I couldn't find much about this whiskey with regards to info. I believe it to be a bourbon matured whiskey that's been finished in virgin oak casks. I think initially it was meant to come out in batches, but again, I couldn't find too much online about that, and there's no mention of batches or batch numbers on my bottle or on my sleeve. In fact, I don't even know if this is still in production. I don't know if it's discontinued. I really don't know what the deal is with this whiskey. Most online retailers are going to be either completely sold out or almost sold out, and I'm not sure if there's more stock coming in down the line. No idea. Anyway, if the name didn't tip you off, this is an organic product, and that actually sounds like quite a hassle to pull off on behalf of the distillery. Of course, you're going to start with organically grown barley, which they sourced from local farmers. And then they had to scrub out the mash tun. I don't know if they scrubbed out like the stills and a lot of the piping as well, but the idea there is you want to minimize contact with all those previous batches that were not made organically. After that, they had to scrape out all the barrels that they put the whiskey into, again to minimize contact. Like, there was a whole process that was needed to get that organic certification, and it sounds like a hell of a headache for the distillery. Now, I could be wrong about this, correct me if I am, but is there a big demand out there for organic whiskey? I'm genuinely asking. Like, I honestly don't know. Are there a lot of consumers that are asking for organic whiskeys? Is there a big demand out there on the market? Is it important to you guys? Like, do you guys want to see more organic whiskeys hit your shelves? I am kind of curious about that. Do let me know down in the comments. Personally, I do think it's a cool concept. I think, the more natural, the better. You have brands like Ben Romick, Loch Lomond. You have, of course, Deanston here. Putting organic whiskeys on offer is just a nice extra option to give your consumers. However, there is a bit of a concern when it comes to pricing. As I mentioned, going organic does involve a lot of extra legwork, and I just hope these brands can find a way to give us our organic options without skyrocketing the prices. Anyway, we have an age-dated whiskey from a respected distillery and one with an interesting production process that kind of emphasizes keeping things natural. So all of that sounds cool. So yeah, why don't we hop into a review of this one, see what it's all about, and in the meantime, if you can kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. So we do have some nice specs here. This one comes in at 46.3% ABV. It's also going to be non-chill filtered and naturally colored. Now, of course, that's how it always should be, but especially with something like this, it'd be really weird to give us a totally organic product and then just toss a bunch of E150A or caramel colorant on top. Obviously, they didn't do that here, and yeah, I mean, everything looks good. So we've got a nice natural color to our whiskey. I think our label design is fine. It's not outstanding, but it's nice. Standard Deanston fare. You have your signatures, you have your stamps. I do think I prefer the white labels on the regular core range as opposed to the brown here, but I mean, whatever. Overall, yeah, decent presentation. Score will be 3 out of 5. It tells us it's unchill filtered. It doesn't mention anything about being naturally colored, although I'm pretty sure that it is. We have our tasting notes on the back, some little blurbs, local farmers, community spirit, all that, fine. It says matured in a selection of oak casks, which kind of tells us something without really telling us anything. But yeah, overall, it's a nice design. Doesn't stand out on the shelf, but it's okay. Let's try our nose. So right out the gate, this is very Deanston. I get those kind of like Stetson cologne notes that I always get with Deanston. No one else seems to pick up on those. I always get that. So this is floral. We've got honeys and cereals. We've got some fresh pastries in here. Barley sugar, brown sugar. There's even something slightly pastoral in here. It's fruity. We've got apples, we've got pears, and sweet, ripe bananas. Now the palate. All right. Thick mouth coating. Barley sugar, even a little bit of grain in here, caramel, malt, buttercream, maple. There's peanut butter cups in here, some candied apple, some mocha, some sweet light citrus, and just a little touch of minerals. Now our finish. Light citrus like orange, full rich barley, brown sugar, mocha, maple, buttercream, more of those peanut butter cups, candied apple, like stroop waffles or like tea biscuits, something like that, honey nut cereal. This is a medium finish. It's mostly lingering on some of those florals and some sort of limestone or mineral notes. So this is good stuff. I think it's got some interesting things happening. I think it's very well executed. In some ways, this is going to be a very traditional profile. It's pretty straightforward. It's definitely not like a bells and whistles type whiskey. And, you know, sometimes whiskeys like that do run the risk of coming off maybe a little bit boring or generic. Luckily here, we do have a nice ABV. We have a quality distillate, and we have just a little sprinkle, a little touch of that Deanston magic. But I will say this isn't one of their more standout or attention-grabbing expressions. Like I said, this is for those of you who are looking for something a little bit more straightforward. Not much cask play here. Definitely no wine influence. You know, I think this is a nice showpiece for the standard Deanston profile. Our flavors in here, they have weight, they have presence, they have heft. They kind of coat your whole mouth from front to back. This stuff is very viscous, very full. I also think we have some great flavors in here. I even think our label here kind of matches the flavor profile of the whiskey, because this tastes like a brown whiskey. And no, I don't mean the gross brown stuff that you definitely don't want in your mouth. I'm talking caramels, honey nut cereals, honey, brown sugar, barley sugar, mocha, maple, peanut butter cups, just good brown things. And you know, a huge chunk of my tasting notes were like sweets and pastries and sugary things, but this whiskey is never cloying. It's never even like borderline cloying. You have this kind of like dark mocha counterbalance to everything, kind of evens everything out, keeps everything in check. One thing to keep in mind with this whiskey, though, is that I don't think it's very consistent. My scores for this might be dramatically different on any given day. Now, that might depend on my mood, my palate, whatever. But I do see that as a detractor just because my enjoyment of this wavers quite a bit. And because of that inconsistency, I actually don't reach for this very often just because I never know what I'm going to get. On some days, it hits beautifully and I absolutely love this stuff. Other days, honestly, this tastes like nothing special, which of course is disappointing. So I don't find myself reaching for this stuff despite knowing that, you know, the quality is there, the flavors are there, but they just don't hit right every time, and that's frustrating. Also, your straightforward bourbon or virgin oak type stuff is nice, but it's not my preferred style. And you know, sometimes I might pour whiskey, walk away, get busy with something else, and then come back to it and forget what I poured. And when that happens with something like this, I'm left scratching my head because, yeah, it is good whiskey. We do have some nice flavors in here, but there's nothing that really screams unique identity to me. So sometimes I'm left wondering what it is I've poured. But I do think if this is the kind of whiskey that you gravitate towards, you are going to love this stuff. I think it's one of the better ones. We have good balance, good flavors, nice complexity here. Overall, it's very honest Deanston. The flavors are very unobstructed. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the organic process did to this whiskey, but I'm sure it did something. I definitely couldn't find anything where I'd be like, okay, that's like the organic bit right there. You know, how would I? How could I? Obviously, organic, not a flavor. I wouldn't know what I'm looking for. Anyway, whatever. My score for this is going to be 87. I do like it. It's not a favorite, but it is damn good stuff. I think if this was my style of whiskey, I would certainly be giving it a higher score. I do find myself wishing for more of a personality to latch onto. It is Deanston. It's identifiable as Deanston. It's pretty straightforward. It's honest, but there's no hook. Still, I think this is a great one to try for the Deanston fans out there. It's better than their entry-level expressions. Of course, it ought to be. It is more expensive. I'd take this over the 12. I'd take it over the Virgin Oak. This one has more weight, more depth, more complexity. And honestly, I might be picking on this whiskey a little bit too much. It is really good. The quality is there. I'm sure a lot of you out there are really going to get behind this one. So the value for this is pretty weird, especially here in Taiwan, because some shops have it for really cheap, others really expensive, not much in between. Obviously, I picked my bottle up on the cheap. I'm feeling pretty good about it in terms of value, but that price is definitely the exception and not the rule. Now, if you go check out the major online retailers for this bottle, most of them won't have it in stock. The few that do are selling it for around 95 pounds or roughly 130 US, which I would not recommend at that price. I think that's too much for this. I've heard that back in the day, this used to sell at some shops for 75 US dollars, which I think is totally fair. I would definitely recommend it at that price. But I think most retailers now in the US are going to be asking well over $100. And at that price, I'd say skip it. Alright, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit subscribe down below, click that little bell icon, and of course, smash the like. Now, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried our Deanston 15 Organic here? What were your thoughts? Finally, down in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.